What's Oklahoma going to go in 2024? Vegas has them at an over-under win total of 7.5. Now, you see that, you're like, wait a second. Oklahoma, that team that pretty much owned the Big 12 for the better part of the last however many years, that Oklahoma? Like that brand, that logo, and that over-under win total, they don't really make a whole lot of sense when you see them together. But I think what Vegas is telling us here with this win total is we don't know what to do with you. We're not sure. New quarterback, a lot of new pieces on the offensive line, if not a whole new offensive line. New conference, like we don't know what to do with you. We don't know if we can trust you just yet. Oklahoma fans, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, baby. We talk college football every single day on this platform, on this show that is The Hard Count. I promise you now, as you move into the SEC, we're going to talk a lot about your Sooners and the path ahead for you in 2024. So analysis before the games, after the games, predictions, all that. We got a lot on deck for you this upcoming college football season. Don't want you to miss a minute of what we're building right here, a sicko community for our college football junkies. So subscribe to this channel. Also, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel. Appreciate you in advance for that. And so I think when we talk about Oklahoma and them being unproven, sometimes us as human beings, we take unproven and we just chalk it up to not talented or hopeless or it's not going to work. Like, I don't think that's Oklahoma. I think it's fair to be skeptical. I think it's extremely unfair to say there's no way they have success. Because with every question mark you have about them, in the same way we talk about Florida, I think you can also make a case for it working at a really high level for Oklahoma. New quarterback, had a bad bowl game, still was a 5-star plus kind of player. I promise you, like your school probably wanted Jackson Arnold when he came out of high school. New offensive line. Well, got one of the best offensive line coaches in America, and Bill Bedenbaugh. That's a cause for optimism. I think the best way to put it when you talk about Oklahoma in 2024, they are a program that will have to lift with their legs. All right, so I just moved this past weekend from an apartment to a rental home, and we're moving a big old couch, we're moving a couple of beds, and like, if we had tried to lift those things with our back, we would have been in a world of hurt. Why? Because our back and our arms, not nearly as strong as our legs. The legs of this operation at Oklahoma is the defense. It will have to be a defensive-led operation from the jump. Now, will it be that way in November? Remains to be seen. But as the offensive line tries to gel those first few games, as Jackson Arnold starts to get more comfortable those first few games, I need my defense to carry the torch and to make the heavy lift early. Because you have all that returning production back, because Brent Venables is from the defensive side of the ball, and I promise you that defense is his baby. I don't care whose name is at the DC spot. They bring back 79% production from last year's unit that only allowed 23 points a game. Even more importantly, and we've said this a couple times, you bring back the leadership behind that defense. You bring back the swagger, the attitude. You bring back Billy Bowman at safety, Danny Stutzman at linebacker, the heart and soul of this whole operation. Like, that is going to be the catalyst early on. And so if you want to give Jackson Arnold some confidence, you want to help him feel comfortable, give him the reassurance that if they go 3 and out, if he decides to eat it for a sack instead of, trying to push the ball deep into double coverage, that's a good decision because the defense has his back. I promise you, that will give him confidence and that will allow him to play much more free, knowing that he doesn't have to make a play every single drive for them to be successful. Because once that offense clicks now, once that offensive line kind of gels, and once Jackson Arnold has the light bulb on, they've got playmakers to get the football to. Deion Burks is a name that nationally a lot of people are going to know probably by the end of September by what he's going to do on that field. I'm just telling you. Get him comfortable. Defense hold it down. Good things are going to happen. So let's talk about Oklahoma here in terms of their schedule. September is the big swing month. There's 2 games I have circled if I'm a Sooner fan. It's Tennessee, for storyline reasons, obviously, but also it being your first game in the SEC. And then welcome to the SEC, baby. You turn around the next day, flip right around, and you play at Auburn the next weekend. The big reason why those games are important, one, is for establishing momentum and confidence. That's obvious. But you got to beat who's in your neighborhood, man. If you want to win at the highest level in college football, you got to beat who's in your neighborhood. And Auburn right now, them going into year 2 under Hugh Freeze, I think they are in a comparable spot from a roster perspective. You talk about Tennessee. They're going to be really good, but they're playing a new quarterback as well. Beat who's in your neighborhood. Beat who's in your realm when it comes to the competitive nature of where your team stands. Now, by October 12th, we talked about Jackson Arnold, trying to figure it out and get comfortable and all that. New offensive coordinator as well. By October 12th, when you play Texas in Red River, how far along is the offense? Because at that point, we're rolling. That's going to determine if you end up getting the over on that, if you end up making a bowl game like that. That is the number for us, okay? Texas, South Carolina, at Ole Miss. You play Maine, catch your breath a little bit. At Missouri, play Alabama, finish at LSU. We got to be rolling because in that run, look at the offenses there. Texas, Ole Miss, heck, Missouri, Alabama, LSU, all those teams would not surprise me in the slightest if they all scored north of 37 a game. Translation, you're going to have to bring your cleats that day. You're going to have to make sure that you brought your Gatorade because they're going to score a lot of points. Oklahoma might be a Powerade school, so bring your Powerade for the good folks in Norman. So when we talk about the record here, the defense is going to keep them in a lot of games. And Oklahoma is one of the trickiest teams for me to get a pulse on because I think you could make an argument for them having a tremendous season, winning somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 games. You can make a case for them missing the bowl game. I could see either path depending on how those variables we just talked about end up falling. And so for me, I'm going to fall somewhere in the middle there. I'm going to have Oklahoma at 6-6. They could definitely overachieve my expectations. They could definitely hit the over there. I'm going to put them at 6-6 this year. I want to see this offensive line gel. I want to see how this roster stacks up against some of those teams in the SEC. The game against Tennessee is going to tell us a lot. I'm going to put Oklahoma at 6-6 as we stand here right now. But here's the big thing I want us to all get aligned on. JD, you're 6-6. You hate the Sooners? No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. Don't panic. If you go 6-6 this year, do not panic. It does not mean Brent Venables isn't the guy. It does not mean Jackson Arnold's a bad quarterback. It does not mean that you can't compete in the SEC. What it means is there's some growing pains. It means you broke in a new offensive line, a new OC, a new quarterback. There's some growing pains. Hiring Brent Venables, giving him the extension, was always about the long-term play. 6-6 with that record, just so we're on the same page here, probably good for still being in that 10-win range in the Big 12. Not throwing shade at the Big 12, just how I feel about it. This is what you signed up for. This is the SEC. This is the best conference in college football. The entry point is a little bit different than maybe you would have liked. You would have liked to have a more experienced commodity at quarterback or whatever. It is what it is. Oklahoma, I think, is still in a good spot going forward. Still think Venables is the right guy, but that is my prediction for them when it comes to their record in 2024. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.